Yeah, BK, you're not at this place yet. Sorta, you kind of are, maybe, sort of. Not at this place yet. Um, my daughter almost killed her. I could have almost killed her today. We're just coming back from her softball game. Season ended. Um, they lost 11-7. Tough one. Um, they came into the final inning with a lead and then gave up the allotted runs to lose. Um, the 5 runs to lose, and she's getting out of the car to leave, and she's got on cleats. She's got her softball bag in her hand, treat bag in her hand. She gets out of the car, and to go and close the door, she doesn't use her hands. She doesn't use her body. She takes those Under Armour cleats that she has on, and she comes up and she tries to karate kick my door to close. And I and I saw that leg go up, and I said, "Stop it! Stop it!" And that little girl then had a smirk of a smile on her face as if to say, "Sorry." And then
Gotcha.
turned around and walked. I just told her, "Stop! Don't touch anything. Go." I think I said, "Go away," and I did. I'm telling you, that's coming. What possessed her not to just body it close, not to hell just walk away. I mean, every time she goes to get the snack out of the pantry, she leaves the pantry door open. She
Sure,
leaves the
of course.
toast, the toast and the bread thing open and just leaves it there. But no, today she wanted to take them cleats up against my black door that she has already trust ruined. If you come into my house and you see that I park up against the wall in the garage and it's the door that she opens, you'll see the different spaces against the wall that she has flown the door open and made an indention up the wall. You'll see it if you ever come in. Just, hey, good. Look, like you're in a different stage right now, but it was just like you just didn't even think. I wanted to go put on my old cleats that I think is somewhere in the house and just go jumping up and down in her bed and just start kicking and kicking in her stuff. I wanted to go kick her bike down with it. Oh, I feel hot about that.
We are at the early stages of him testing us, like just to see, what can I and can't I get away with. And it's been a little jarring, not gonna lie to you, Ron, but it's like little stuff where like we don't want him like standing on the couch, right? Like running across the couch. And that's his new thing lately is I'm just gonna go ahead and sprint from one side of the couch to the other. But it's mostly harmless other than for him. He's the only one that can really get hurt by that. It's not gonna mess with our couch.
You should stack some cones up on each side of it, like a cone drill, to see what it does.
Do the 3 cone because we've got like the sectional. Just
really
do the 3
like
cone.
use this. Just use this thing.
Didn't you tell me?
No, tell the truth. Like, because Serda's thinking this. Is there a part of you that wants him to fall? Because I'm thinking in my mind, there's a part where I want him to hit the deck.
Sure, like fall, but not get hurt. Like, see, hey, there's consequences to this, but not to the point where like you're really gonna like feel it.
But a little hurt, like a little
hurt, not injured, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, ow, that didn't
jars him a little bit. Yeah,
sure. There's some of that because it's like, hey, man, eventually you got to learn, right? Like, there's gonna be a consequence to these kinds of actions, and so there's a little bit of you, but also I'm early enough in parenting that it's still like, yo, I don't need to deal with that right now. Like that feels like it'd be a lot. It's just easier if you don't fall for me. So it's really about me more than it is for you, that kind of a thing.
In all fairness to your daughter, Ron, I seem to recall you telling me earlier today that your bumper is taped to your car right now. So
Listen,
this doesn't have a lot of respect for the vehicle because you're bringing to the table right now.
Listen, that had nothing to do with what happened to the door.
No, that feels relevant though. Yeah, feels relevant.
No, it's not relevant. It has nothing to do with it. Just because there is a little tape because a little part fell apart and it's hanging there, and I want to get it to tape. and I'm not
Yeah.
ready to get the body shop to fix it yet, does not have anything to do with her lacing up her Under Armour cleats and going with her Bryce Harper's to shove the door closed. All right.
Feels like the two might be somewhat related, though.
No, they're not. The other one happened just through wear and tear of having the car for 10 years. This one was self-done because
this is wear and tear of having a kid for 6 years.
This is wear and tear of your ass didn't just go ahead and just turn and use your body to close the door. And as a side note, why do we need a Western Whopper? Who came in there and thought to themselves that we need not just a Western Whopper, but we're going to get the nacho cheese Whopper? I just don't know what Burger King's doing right now. And then I
didn't know what you were talking about. Full disclosure, I had no idea what you were referencing.
You haven't
Whopper? What is a
not
Western
seen the
Whopper?
Burger King. They've come up with the two ones. They've got a nacho cheese Whopper now that they're rolling with. Yes, they just take chances right now. Like they just take chances. It's now the nacho
this
cheese.
Western Whopper sounds good.
The nacho cheese one is they're crunching up some chips, and now they got nacho cheese on top of your regular Whopper. They just do too.
This Western Whopper sounds awesome.
What's on it?
It's got beef, cheese, or excuse me, bacon, cheese, and barbecue sauce. That sounds good.
That's not bad. That's good. The nacho cheese one crunching up the chips on there. That's a little.
Isn't that just a rodeo burger? Like
that's bigger. No, it's not. It's a Western Whopper.
The rodeo burger
doesn't have it.
It's the barbecue bacon Whopper, but with cheddar cheese.
Just Burger King, they tried too much. You remember when they added hot dogs for no reason to that menu? They went over there and looked over at Quick Trip and said, I want to get a piece of this. Let's get these Quick Trip hot dogs in there. Good God almighty. I saw it. I saw the commercial. It just bugs me.
They also, and I say this with all due respect,
they've got several different variations on the Whopper.
Their chicken sandwich is one of the worst things I've ever eaten in my life. The long version, it's horrific.
The long one?
It's so bad, man. I don't know what's wrong with it, but that original chicken sandwich is like you'd have to pay me to eat that at this point in my life.
Yeah, it's not good. I haven't had one of those in 20 years, but I used
to drill them.
Yeah, when they had a little 2 for $5 running, in a worst part of my life. I'd bang them out. All right, listen. Speaking of Whoppers, I gotta say, I have never ever thought of myself as a homer. No one's ever accused me of a homer. Like more or less, I think people have looked at me as somebody who is more pessimistic about the teams. Like obviously I root for the Chiefs. I root for my teams, but yes, I am one that has no problem with calling out, issues. And maybe my homerism is getting into me, and you all can certainly tell me if that is the case. But I fully want it to come in, and we will do so on the pod. We got time to stretch our legs or kick the door in like Lauren would. I should call her up right now to kick doors in anytime we need to have that happen. But I am blown away. Like I knew it was going to be a rough day for the Chiefs, but I am blown away, fellas, by the reaction of people since the loss. And not even just people, but even Chiefs fans have taken the one loss to a whole nother level. And a lot of the national people, to me, when I just think to myself, this is a team that has been the most dominant team and consistent team in all of team sports in the last 7 years. All of team sports, not just football, all of team sports. Where are they at? 6 straight AFC championship games. They've gone to 4 Super Bowls in 5 years. They've won 3 of them. They've won the last 2. They've won in different ways. They've gotten to the AFC championship game and the Super Bowl in different ways. They've won with offense. They've won with defense. They've won with complementary football. They have done, good Lord, little help. They have done it in many different ways. They have the best coach, the best coaching staff, the best defensive coordinator, the best quarterback, and they won 15 straight games. They were 9-0 this year and had a winning streak of 15 straight games. And the amount of people who have now spun off that they are like the third or fourth best team. Some people talk about the third or fourth best team in their own conference. I am blown away with what I believe the disrespect that a team like the Chiefs is getting. Like this is Jordan and the Bulls. This is Brady and the Patriots. They lose one game in 15 games. And it's like, uh-oh. They lose on the road to a 9-2 team. It was 23-21 with 2 minutes left. And it's like, what? It's a drop. Like, I looked at it as like, you ever seen, the polls where a team loses? It felt like to me, like, this may be one where, hell, they don't even drop because it's just been this good. I cannot, and maybe I've been a homer. They've not lost since last Christmas. And one loss. Oh, man, I got the Bills and Steelers better than them. Excuse me? One loss. I trust. It may happen. But they said, who do you trust in a game between the Lions or the Chiefs the most in a Super Bowl? There's only one answer to that. I'm not saying it won't happen, but when you say trust with what they've done, I am blown away with not that it can happen to any team, but it's the Chiefs in particular and everything that they have done that that this is the respect that they're getting. I'm blown away.
I'm shocked by it, but at the same time, it doesn't even surprise me at this point. And the reason why is because we've seen this with the Patriots, man. Like, this exact same thing happened with them.
Patriots?
It did. And like, we didn't recognize it as often because it wasn't our team. But remember when the Patriots, now this was 2019, so this is really late into the process, but remember when they lost that game against the Chiefs and people were like, it's over. It's over for New England. And was there one in like 2017, that season opener? Yeah, that season opener in 2017 where they lost to the Chiefs. And I remember, who was it? Was it like...
No, Alex Smith went crazy and Kareem Hunt went crazy.
Right, but there was somebody on the ESPN postgame show or something that was like, it's over. That's it for the Patriots. Their dynasty is done. And like since then, they went on to, go to the Super Bowl that year, won the Super Bowl the next year, and were still, the Patriots. They ended up winning 13 games that season. So I think this stuff just happens, and it's because everybody wants something different. Like, if you're not a fan of the Chiefs, the boring thing is to continue watching the Chiefs win. The much more interesting discussion is, who could the other team be in the AFC, right? They've become that, where it used to be this with LeBron, where it was every year, we know LeBron's getting to the NBA Finals. Well, who's the team that could potentially knock LeBron off? The interesting conversation is not about LeBron. It's about the Pacers. It's about the Bulls. It's about whoever the next team is that could potentially knock them off in the Eastern Conference. And I think that's what we're getting to here, man, is everybody wants the Bills to be able to do it. It's time, right? Maybe this is the year that it'll happen. Maybe it's not. But that game represented hope for a lot of non-Chiefs fans across the country. And I think that's what you've really seen over the last few days is people hoping that this is going to be different this time around, even though it is the fourth consecutive time that the Bills have beaten the Chiefs in the regular season, and they have yet to be able to do so in the postseason.
Yeah. I think it's just continuing the theme of this season, which we already saw it starting to manifest with the Chiefs. Like, it's been happening for the last month or so. Like, this team isn't good enough. Like, this isn't the same team from last year, even though despite all of the injuries on offense, I would still argue their offense is better this season than it was last season. And the defense did look almost as good until the Jalen Watson injury. And that's a legitimate concern for them moving forward. I still think they're good enough. Like, I still think they can figure things out to be good enough. They're not going to be last year's defense. Like, we're past that point now. But to act as if this team hasn't been one of the most impressive postseason teams that we've ever seen, and to act as if this team doesn't turn it on when they absolutely have to and find ways to win. Instead, we try to poke holes in everything and be like, oh, they're not good enough. They can't keep winning like this, even though they've done it year after year after year. Like, we've just been down this road before. I've seen enough Chiefs football. I've seen enough Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in this era of football to know that when the games matter the most, I will never bet against them. I did that finally last season, and they proved me wrong again. I'm done doing that. Until somebody actually dethrones them when it matters, I believe the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL.
But this one is different, though, to me. This one feels different to me because, yeah, they've had their issues before. Like when Mahomes got injured the year they won the first Super Bowl, he got injured and they missed some time. And you get the doubt. Okay, then they come back and win it. And then they lose to the Bengals. And then, like, even, 2 years ago, he gets hurt. There is some doubt because they were coming off of losing. They didn't have Tyreek Hill. And, even last year, like, that was the most, like, adversity they had gone through. But, like, this one is so weird to me. And maybe this is just like an understanding of truly, because maybe the Patriots dynasty didn't exactly start to the height of where we are in terms of daily talk, daily, podcast daily, because they started like this is early I'm still in high school when they started it, right? Hell, you two might have been in middle school, but like
I was in 3rd grade.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
Jesus, hey, okay. Wow, the Rams Super Bowl again.
2001, man. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right, I was graduating. But
9 years old.
All right. Okay, shut up. But like, yeah, and I think maybe it's starting now, but like, I just don't think we've ever seen a scenario, and we have had teams in the past that have gone on runs. I just don't know that we've ever seen a scenario in which a team has had this much success and had the best in all of the right areas that you would need, that won 15 in a row and won the last 2 titles, and they lose a game. And people could fix their mouths to say, like, yeah, man. Like, I don't know, boy. I think they're the 4th best team. Like, what? Like, everyone acknowledges, yeah, I don't think they were going to go undefeated. Like, they had the best record in football for them to lose on the road to Buffalo. They didn't go on the road and lose to the Panthers, But like, that one feels like, I understand the want to. There's a want to of LeBron to lose by many, but there ain't just absolute crazy talk. Like, there was a want to for the Heat to lose, but there was not crazy talk in there. Like, when the Heat got together, like, yeah, we're not going to sit here and all of a sudden say they're the 5th best team. That part is just.
I think there's something else in play here, Ron, and I think it's like the way that they lost that game showed you every flaw that everybody has been pointing out for the Chiefs this year on full display. Like, there's a problem with the receivers, right? They don't have the receivers they intended to have this year. Rashee Rice is gone. Hollywood Brown is gone. They have seemingly not been able to figure out, and we'll get into this a little bit more later on, but they haven't totally incorporated DeAndre Hopkins yet. Travis Kelce doesn't look like his former self right now. They don't have the same running game that they did a year ago, and I think that's in part because Isaiah Pacheco is not out there, so they have no explosiveness in the running game right now. Like, all of those things offensively showed. The lack of a true, like, stopper at left tackle showed. On defense, for whatever reason, they're not getting the same pressure that they did a year ago. I can't explain why that is because it's basically the same personnel, but they do have an answer for that potentially coming back within the next few weeks. They don't have the same corners that they did a year ago. And to me, that's the one place that I can look at and be like, I don't know how you fix that. And it showed itself in a huge way in that game. And that to me is the thing that was on full display, that like, if you're a critic of the Kansas City Chiefs and you say, well, last year they were able to overcome the offense because of this special defense, and that special defense was possible because of these 2 shutdown corners. And they don't have that this year, which makes the lack of a pass rush more glaring, which makes the issues that they have offensively more glaring. Like everything comes back to the lack of a number 2 corner that seems so like simplistic and simplifying football way too much. But I can understand how you get yourself there. But even then, Ron, I come back to this team has earned the benefit of the doubt. They have lost to the Buffalo Bills 4 consecutive times in the regular season, and it has not mattered in the postseason. So until that changes, and it very well could this year, it's possible that these flaws will manifest themselves in the playoffs. And to borrow a phrase from our good friend Therese Paylor, he used to always write the column during the regular season. Did this regular season loss portend playoff failures for the Kansas City Chiefs? It's possible we will look back at that game and say, that's when we should have known. But I don't know how you can say that on the front end without first seeing it in the postseason, because we haven't seen it play out yet. It's hard to do.
But in 9 games, it took, like they played 10 already. Or what is that? Yeah, 10 already. Like in 10 games, one time did all of those things show their face at one time.
True, but I think a lot of that is because of the Jalen Watson injury. Like Jalen Watson didn't get hurt until the 7th game of the season. And when he went down, things did change for this defense in a dramatic way. And since then, it is fair to say the defense has not looked the same.
No, I'm not just talking about, but I'm talking about all of those things. Like their issue with the second corner, their issue with not getting home.
But I think they're all connected, Ron. I think they're all connected to that lack of a second corner, because if your corners have to cover a little while longer, or if the guys aren't getting open at receiver, well, then your pass rush is easier to be able to get home because you've got that extra beat, right? And that's made possible because Jalen Watson is out there. If your defense is getting that third down stop, your offense gets onto the field more. One of the issues for them in this game was just a lack of possessions, because Buffalo was doing the thing that the Chiefs typically do, where they have these like 8, 10, 12 play drives because they're consistently hitting on these 3rd and longs. That wasn't happening against the defense early in the season. I do think, like, to me, the one fair critique of the Chiefs right now that they don't have an answer for internally with somebody coming back from injury, schematically, like they have no answer right now for their problem at number 2 corner. And I don't know how that gets solved. And to me, that was the biggest, most glaring weakness that was on display in that game against the Bills. And it is something that I, as a Chiefs fan, am legitimately concerned about moving forward.
Yeah,
fair. What I was saying though is real quick, Serda, is it took all of those things to happen. Some are connected, but yes, the pass rush and the number 2 corner, there's some connection there. But it took pass rush, number 2 corner, like Hopkins and Kelsey being completely, taken away. It took the left tackle and right tackle struggling all together. All of those things are particular issues, but we have not seen, they've all been things, to be honest, all year. I mean, like the pass rush, I think is a little up there. They get pressure, but now when you look at their sacks numbers, they're not getting sacks. What I'm just saying is it took 1 out of 10 games for all of those things to happen all at once. And when you think about who is running the show with the coaches, the thought is that all of those things probably won't happen. And the thought is, if one of those things didn't get flushed down the toilet, 23-21 may have been different, right? But that's what I'm saying is, and to think like there's not grace to, all right, yeah, man, they kind of had a rough one. And what their rough one looked like was 23-21 with 2 minutes left on the road against Josh Allen. Like that's what it looked like. So that's just my thing is all of those things you're saying are accurate. But what also is accurate is they played 10 games and 9 just this year, not to mention the 15 that they won in a row or the 2 Super Bowls ahead of that. But they played 10 games this year, and one time did all of those things come about. And I would just think there is the respect of, hey, we at least got to see this happen again before we start just treating this team like a regular ass team.
I think part of this is just like modern day reactionary media coverage and
True.
how everybody's got a voice, everybody's got an opinion, and on Monday, everybody's got to have a take about everything that happened on Sunday in the NFL. And it's maybe the story of this season does wind up being the Kansas City Chiefs just going for a third straight Super Bowl. And this has happened with other dynasty teams that had something happen like this in the past. Like, they just couldn't stay healthy this season. It just wasn't their year. Like, they started to get old and guys started to get hurt. And like, that just kind of happens in the NFL. It's really hard to be really good for a really long time because we see these teams fall apart year after year. And maybe that is the story of this Chiefs season. But like Ron said, like, it took 11 weeks for a team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, like, and they're still 9-1, and we still have a long way to go in the regular season. So while I totally agree they don't have an answer at number 2 cornerback, and I don't see an answer on the horizon because there's no other options. You can't go trade for anybody anymore. You can go sign a veteran and hope you can just get some serviceable play out of them, of the available guys that are just floating around out there right now. But the options aren't great. But if I'm going to put my faith in any coaching staff in the NFL to figure it out the rest of the way and get ready for the playoffs, it's going to be this coaching staff because we've seen them do this before. So I don't think that it's not going to be a total fix. Oh, now the Chiefs defense looks like it did the first 7 weeks of the season, but it just can't be as bad as it has been the last couple of weeks.
And Ron, real quick, last thing on this, because you make a totally fair point. Like, it took all of those things happening simultaneously in one game against what I think is truly the second best team in the AFC. And they effectively lost by a score. And beyond all of that, like, imagine how much that game changes if Xavier Worthy there's a better ball to him and he stays in bounds. Like, imagine how much of that game, just with that one play, or if on that final play of the game, somebody makes a tackle. That fourth down play by Josh Allen. Like, if somebody makes a tackle against him, or if they stop one of the, I think, 7 third and longs that they weren't able to stop in this game against the Buffalo Bills, or if instead of having Kareem Hunt, who at this point just has no explosiveness in his legs, if they've got Isaiah Pacheco, or if instead of not having Charles Omenihu coming off of one of the edges, they've got him in the next time around. Like, or if at that point in time, instead of playing 55% of the snaps, they've got a basically fully implemented DeAndre Hopkins into the system. Like, there's a lot of stuff that will change between now and the start of the postseason. So I am with you guys. I was just playing devil's advocate of like why I could understand some skepticism. Despite that, like, if I had to bet today, I would still bet on the Chiefs to come out of the AFC. I still think they're the best team.
And I think all those people are lying that are saying if it came down to it in the Super Bowl or an AFC championship game, no matter where the game is played, that they would pick another team over the Chiefs. Like, to be. All right, BK, I know you said because I want to hear this. I have never been on hey, that's a good loss train. Like, yeah, they need to get one out of the way. I've never been on that, but you said you've heard a convincing reason why there could have been a good loss.
There's only one. There's only one reason why it could potentially be a good loss. Ron, I'm not sure that playing effectively 6 weeks of meaningless football is good for you. Like, it's just such a hard thing to keep that level of intensity up and to like flip that switch if you didn't need it for the final 6 weeks of the regular season. We've seen this so many times, whether it's in baseball where like the last month of the year, you're just trying to play out the string, or in football, if you're the team that has locked things up in your division and there's not much movement that you can have down the stretch, like whatever it is. And that would have been the case for the Chiefs if they won that football game, because if you win, you're 10-0, the Bills fall to 9-3, but are effectively 4 games back of you because of the head-to-head matchup that you had against them. And at that point, there's only 7 weeks left. So you're 4 games ahead of the Bills, 4 games ahead of the Chargers, 4 games ahead of the Texans, 5 games ahead of the Ravens, and you've got 7 games left. The Steelers are playing as we're recording on Thursday night. They're currently losing. We'll see what happens in this one, but it's possible they finish this week 8-3, and you've got a head-to-head game against them. You basically would only need to win 1 game the rest of the way, and it would be that Steelers game on Wednesday night during Christmas to be able to lock up the 1 seed. I'm just not sure that's good for anybody involved, you know? So that is the argument that I have heard that did convince me. I still would have enjoyed the undefeated season stuff, and maybe that's enough to keep them motivated. But to me, if you're trying to find the silver lining of that loss, that would be it.
Yeah, but I think the pressure or whatever of history would have been making them in a place of focus and not just walking
of all
through.
teams, though, you think that would have been enough for this
team? I think
with
at that
Carolina, point, Las Vegas, Cleveland still on the schedule. I don't know, man.
I think at that point, yeah, they're like if they had one loss, right, like they do right now. Let's say Pittsburgh loses. Let's say Buffalo comes out of their bye week and loses to like over the next 2 weeks. Let's say that the Chiefs do what we would think they're going to do and beat the Panthers and Raiders. And then the Steelers, who could very well lose to the Browns tonight. They're down by 10 at the time that we are recording this in the fourth quarter. Let's say they lose. Mind you, they got in between before the Chiefs play them. They have the Ravens again. They've got the Bengals twice. They've got the Eagles again. And the Bills, the next two, they've got the 49ers, Rams, and Lions. Those are their next three. Let's say the Chiefs win their next two, and let's say the Bills drop another one. They're going to be
basically over. It's done.
They're sitting in that space. They're sitting in that space right now, and it's even worse because they already have a loss, and there's not really anything to play for. At least there would have been a thought of.
I disagree. I like that is requiring a lot out of the Bills now to lose a few games down the stretch. Like they could, don't get me wrong, they could, because they've got San Fran, they've got Detroit. Those are two really tough games, but they're still within shouting distance right now. The Bills are, and they have the tiebreaker. So you have to have one fewer loss on the season than the Bills do. You basically have, I mean, more or less no margin for error right now. That changes immensely if you would have won that game.
BK, if the Bills lose another one, I think it's over.
Probably, but I'm not totally willing to say that because the Chiefs could totally lose on Christmas Day and they could absolutely lose against the Chargers. And now you've got 3 losses. Bills at that point would have 3 losses and they have the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I like the Chargers and what they've done. I don't think they're going to lose to the Chargers at home yet.
I don't know, man. They always play the Chiefs tough.
I'm not saying they always play the Chiefs tough. They always play the Chiefs tough. What happens at the end of the games?
A lot of the times the Chiefs come out on top, no doubt about it. But they also have Jim Harbaugh now, and previously they had a guy that was a buffoon who ended up losing every one-score game. This year they're winning all the one-score games.
I guess
it just makes me feel like
I think they played them with Jim Harbaugh.
They weren't 100% at that point in time. Justin Herbert wasn't all the way there.
Chiefs were pretty good too, weren't they? They were 100%.
They lost. Lad McConkey wasn't healthy at that time.
Is that the game they lost on the second series? Rashee Rice, they didn't even have. Yeah, I mean, sure, whatever. I'm just saying, if Buffalo to me loses again and they have 3 losses, the Chiefs are clear. The Pittsburgh game and maybe the Denver game, but the Pittsburgh game is the only one to me that is of real concern.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they're losing to the Texans at home, and I don't think they're losing to the Chargers at home.
We've just watched this Chiefs team too long for me to be definitive about them not losing a stupid game. Last year they lost to Denver. They had no business losing that game to Denver, but they found a way to do it. A couple of years ago, they lost to Indianapolis on the road. Like there's going to be a stinker down the stretch at some point. I don't know who it's going to be against, but they'll lose one game. I believe that we're not currently expecting them to lose.
All right, we'll see. All right, let's look at it in this game when the Chiefs have the ball. I know a lot of people kind of want to see some of the downfield stuff, and I'll be honest with you, we've seen a little bit of it, and we have clearly seen openings. We have clearly seen opportunities down the field. It'd be nice if it was somebody else other than Worthy. You know what? I take that back. Watson was wide open for a touchdown against Denver that wasn't connected. So there was another big play in that. So it hasn't just been Worthy, but there a lot of people want to see the big play. But hopefully Pacheco comes back this week. Which it looks like he's potentially, am I right on that, Serda, that he's trending towards coming back this week? He's practiced all week.
It seems like he's got a good chance. The Chiefs are always like super cautious about this stuff, but the fact that they practiced last week bodes well that they're also back on the field this week and have a good opportunity to play him and Charles Omenihu.
But I know for you, BK, when you look at this, it does scream, can you get 100 between 150, 200 yards rushing in this game, especially if a Pacheco is playing?
Yeah, I saw somebody, I don't remember who it was, but somebody posted on Twitter last week after the Chiefs lost, like, oh, a 40-3 win for the Chiefs at the Carolina Panthers incoming. It's like, that's not how the Chiefs operate, man. They're going to win this game like 24-13, and you're going to leave completely unfulfilled, but they will completely take care of business. And that's just the way that they work. The Panthers are the worst run defense in the NFL this season, Ron. They have given up on the season. We are 10 games in for them. 1,600 rushing yards and 17 rushing touchdowns.
Damn.
Those are both among the worst, and the rushing yards is literally the worst in the NFL so far this year. By a yards per carry standard, they're bottom 10 defense in the NFL. They're horrific, man. They cannot stop the bleeding. If you want to run on them, they are more than happy to give you 4 or 5 yards a carry every single time that you run it. They gave up 167 on the ground against the Giants. They gave up nearly 200 against the Saints. They gave up more than 200 against the Commanders, basically 200 against the Falcons. Everybody that has had any kind of like emphasis on their running game against the Carolina Panthers has been more than effective. So my guess in this one, you're going to see a healthy dose of both Isaiah Pacheco if he plays and Kareem Hunt back there as well. I think they run it like 30 times by the end of this game and run it for 150 plus yards.
Yeah, the Panthers are terrible. I watched their last game. The Giants in London just ran all over them. Even though they won that game, they ran all over them. And I'm like, to me, I know some people don't want to see that. I am one of the things that I am really excited about is I know, as you just talked about earlier, that Kareem Hunt doesn't have a lot of explosiveness. I am still intrigued to see what those two look like and what that looks like between the two and what Andy and them have in mind to use them, because they can both run the football. They both are very physical. You can use them in short yardage, both of them. You can use them in the passing game. They can both catch. I'm intrigued to see that. But what I know they're going to run the football and should, but what I still want to see in this game is it felt like it looked like they were confused, or something was thrown off with Juju returning and his role, and now that changed what maybe DeAndre Hopkins' role was, because it seemed like Juju was kind of placed in, as we would call it, the Rashee Rice role, and that to me is more or less the move guy, that the guy that's in the slot or whatever, that's running crossers, that's running stuff, and they just kind of just then put DeAndre in a boundary receiver spot. And listen, we all know this. It is going to take Mahomes some time to get adjusted to, and I don't know if he will, is like DeAndre by the eye is not open. And so I think it's hard for him to just say, oh, well, hell, I'm going to unleash it and unload it on him and throw him the ball, even though he's not open. Now, he did it that one time when he got pressured and DeAndre almost came down to it. It felt like Juju mixed things up. And as you said, the amount of snaps that DeAndre got in a game that was happening of that importance was ridiculous to me. And I just don't think Juju should get in the way of getting and putting DeAndre in the best positions possible, because I think Watson can then play on the outside or whatever. And that was, to me, was the change, is that he was just the boundary receiver for the most part and just on the outside, instead of what we've seen the last couple of years. I believe Serda said it when it first happened. Like, he's been getting a lot more of his of his yards and his production coming out of the slot here
My
in the
biggest
last couple of years.
frustration, Ron, was like not even necessarily where he was used, but just the lack of usage in general. Dude, he had 51 snaps against Tampa Bay. I'm talking about DeAndre Hopkins. 44 snaps against Denver. He was about 60 to 65% in terms of his snap percentage, those two games. He had 26 snaps against the Buffalo Bills. He was in the field of play for less than 50% of the Chiefs' snaps. That's inexcusable. He's too talented to not be on the field. We've already seen the kind of impacts that he can have. He played less in this game than Xavier Worthy or Justin Watson, and he played 6 more snaps than Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, I know part of this is they just went 2 tight ends a ton. They had Noah Gray on the field for 76% of the snaps, so that changed the way that they were utilizing any of these other receivers. But man, when I see something like that, it just makes me think like they have got to figure out what exactly their plan is with these wide receivers. And if that means less Justin Watson, that's fine by me. I know he's their dirty work guy. Cool. Get him in for 20 snaps. You can't be utilizing DeAndre Hopkins for 25 of your 55 snaps. That's not good enough.
Yeah. I don't think that Juju Smith-Schuster should be this involved in the offense. I know Juju had a nice game, and it's like, you want to get Juju involved because you like what he brings to the table. And yeah, maybe he does still have a little bit of gas in the tank and you can put him in the best situation. But DeAndre Hopkins at this age could probably succeed the most in the slot, could probably succeed the most in that role. And I'm sorry, even though DeAndre Hopkins is a little bit older than Juju, DeAndre Hopkins is a better football player than Juju Smith-Schuster has ever been in his career. And I would still rather have DeAndre Hopkins on the field because of what he brings to you. His ability to go up and get the football is something that this offense doesn't have, and there's nobody else on the offense that can replicate it in the way that he does it. And that brings something to the table that nobody else can offer. Everybody else is slow outside of Xavier Worthy and McCole Hardman. And right now you can't get them involved enough. Travis Kelce's old. Like, he's your best option. Yeah, get Juju out there in a couple of critical moments of the game where you know he's going to be lined up in the right spot. And he's going to find an open spot in the zone and get you 8 yards for a first down. But as far as needing a spark offensively and needing some juice offensively, DeAndre Hopkins is the guy that can offer that even at this age, because nobody else in that wide receiver room can do that right now.
We don't have to spend too much time on this before we get to when the Panthers have the ball. But I will acknowledge this. Like you were just talking about all these receivers. Right now, I don't know who the team's number one threat is at this point in the receiving game. Last year, I know Rice was really coming along, and I know that some you guys were really ready to give him that crown. I still felt like it was Kelce, and when the playoffs came around and when the game started to become bigger, it certainly was Kelce, and Rice played off of it. Sunday was the first time in which I was like, whoa, okay. Maybe I am starting to come around to it's not just that he's not the same Kelce that he was before, because he's not, but he was still, to me, one of the top 3 tight ends in football. And last year, I still felt like toe-to-toe, if you want to get him in there and he's going in and you got 1 or 2 games, I still thought he was the best tight end to go with. And I did feel like there were times where he was kind of turning it on and off. And coming up into this week, I mean, he had put together his best games. But Buffalo was playing man. And they played a lot of man. And he just wasn't uncovering one-on-one with guys that were covering him like he used to. And they weren't putting corners on him. That was a bit eye-opening. Now, he may just come around and just, come out the next few weeks and turn it on and whatever. But that one to me is, yes, I think maybe they expected zone because that's what Buffalo plays for the most part. And they kind of went man. But he wasn't shaking people. He wasn't getting loose. He wasn't creating any separation in man through the entirety of the game. Even on his 2 catches, he was dropped immediately because there were guys right over. He was DeAndre Hopkins open, where he's still got people draped over him. That was something that made me pause a little bit on the, hey, just wait till he really turns it on. That was eye-opening for 4 quarters, and man, predominantly, he couldn't shake people loose.
No doubt, it was alarming. It's worth noting we saw the same stuff earlier in the season. I'm not totally worried about it until it becomes a thing in the playoffs, because we saw this last year for the entirety of the season, and then the playoffs came and he was able to raise his game to that next level. He's not the same athlete that he used to be. That much, like, there's not even a discussion to be had. It's just objectively true. He's not the same guy with the ball in his hands as he once was. But I still think, game on the line, 3rd and 7, do I trust Travis Kelce to get open, run an option route that's going to end up getting exactly the right amount of yardage? I do. So right now, I'm not questioning it until I have to, because we used to see this with Gronk as well. Ron, you remember that 2018 run that they had, or when he ended up down in Tampa Bay with Tom Brady as well? It just, these kinds of guys that are this good late in their careers, they can pick their spots and still have the impact that they need to.
I'm not going to go crazy until it becomes really consistent. Like, even early in the year, as you said that, we still saw, there was still like film where people were showing, no, man, actually he was open. He was creating space. Like, the ball just didn't come his way. Like, there were times where we saw that early in the year. Hey, man, I don't think there is any tape where we got in this last game where he was just open and they didn't. Like, there's one time on one of the drives, and this kind of ticked me off, but I understood. Patrick was trying to force Travis the ball when he had Juju wide open in the middle of the field. He had Tyler Bray wide open for a first down, and he tried it, and he threw it to Travis, which led to him trying to stretch it out and them trying to having to punt after Kareem got stuffed. Like, I don't know, man. That was just one that I'm keeping my eyes on. All right, Panthers. When the Panthers have the ball, for me in this game, the Panthers, they stink. And this defense, which I'm taking this Chiefs defense for the most part over 90% of the defenses in the league. And to go against this team that stinks again, they should handle them. But what I want to see is adjustments that Spags makes. Like, what we learned in that game is Spags is going to have to understand that he is handcuffed from being able to do all the things that he wants to do. And he knows it. Like, you can't keep banging your head up against the wall and thinking they'll come through. They won't. 13, nor 2, nor 30, nor any of them are guys that you can just treat the way you did L'Jarius Sneed. Can't do it. I think there maybe needs some adjustment on who the blitzer is, because I know that McDuffie is your best blitzer, but damn it, you're in a bad place when you're blitzing McDuffie and he doesn't get there and the rush doesn't get there, and that's who you have in the back end. You might have to make one of them other jokers the rusher. And maybe there's some adjustments on how much and who Shamari Connor is covering. Because I'm telling you, there were moments when my man Samuel came in motion and I saw who was in motion with him, and that triggered that it was man. He didn't have a shot to handle Curtis Samuel. Not a shot. As I said, I think that the Chiefs can achieve their goals and this defense can do what it needs to do. I just think he is going to have to make adjustments. And yes, they could probably handle the Panthers and playing the way that Spag normally plays, because the pressure could really probably mess with Bryce, and he's little, and you'll probably have better chance, and their line's not as good. But I think that they need to start practicing and preparing for the way they're going to have to play against the Ravens, against the Steelers, against the Bills, and against those teams when they face them. So to me, that's what I want to see, is adjustments of how Spags is going to handle the very clear deficiencies they have.
I just am going to ask you guys a simple question here. Who do you guys think is the weakest link out of the Chiefs' corners right now? Like, it's obviously not Trent McDuffie. Who do you think is the weakest link among the corners that played last week for the Chiefs? Is it Najee Johnson or is it Shamari Connor?
Yeah, because I was going to say, because Joshua Williams didn't play.
Correct.
It's Najee Johnson.
I think. Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking.
It may be Shamari Connor, man.
The reason why I'm asking, and follow up, where do you think Trent McDuffie is best, in the slot or outside?
In the slot.
I would go with, and I know this is scary, but what they're doing right now is also scary. I would like to see them experiment this week with Joshua Williams and Najee Johnson on the outside and bump McDuffie on the inside and just see what that looks like. And this is what you can do over the next few weeks while you're in this mode where you've mostly got the number one seed. You're still in a good spot for that, as Ron explained earlier. Like you're still in a good place. Against a team like the Panthers, I don't think it's really going to burn you that much. And you still got McDuffie on the field. It's not like you're taking him off, but they've got to find something with the secondary, man, because the current plan is not working. Shamari Connor misses way too many tackles. The blitzes with him are not as effective as they are when Trent McDuffie is the guy that's coming out of the slot. Like, I think you lose a little bit with McDuffie by putting him outside. I think some of the teams that you're likely to see in the postseason have a slot receiver that scares me every bit as much as the outside guys. We've seen at times, it's rare, but at times the size can give him some problems. So I would like to see them get McDuffie back to the slot more often, see what that looks like with Najee and Joshua Williams on the outside. And even if they don't do it full time, you've got to give Joshua Williams another shot down the stretch, because if it's replacing Najee or replacing effectively by him being on the field and McDuffie bumping inside, Shamari, he's got to be the guy, man. They need him down the stretch at some point this year.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see that. I've still been like, I just want to understand what the separation is from Joshua Williams last season and like the improvements that we saw him make as a player to this season, where he's basically been deemed unplayable on defense and he's exclusively a special teams player.
Real quick, Serda, you understand though why he's been deemed unplayable, right? Like,
yes, I get it. No, he's made mistakes, but so is Najee Johnson, so is Shamari Connor. Like,
I've seen them win a Super Bowl with Joshua Williams playing meaningful snaps on defense.
Yeah.
Like that's what I can't comprehend, Ron, is I don't know that you can win. I think they can. They've shown an ability to win with other bad corners out there, but it will be harder, I believe, to win a Super Bowl with Najee Johnson or Shamari Connor than it was with the guy that they had when Joshua Williams was playing for him previously in the Super Bowl. So I would just like to see it again. Give him another chance. Let's see what it looks like. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But what's happening right now is not working.
But along with that adjustment that they got to make is with that, like, all right, if you're going to go with the Joshua Williams and you're going to go with the with Johnson on the outsides, that's fine. They've got to help them. They've got to give them more help, right? Like, because effectively two of the biggest plays of the game, they did what you're asking, but he just said, I'm sending these certain blitzes, whatever, and I'm gonna have Amari Cooper alone locked up on the outside with Johnson and no help.
And to be fair, I actually don't have an issue with the way that Najee Johnson played that. Like, he had great coverage. It was just an amazing throw by Josh Allen and a great catch by Amari Cooper down the sideline. Like, sometimes that felt like one of those Charvarius Ward. Remember the game against Seattle when Charvarius Ward got in and it was just great, crazy throws by Russell Wilson deep. It felt like one of those kinds of plays.
Yeah, the second one, he got beat like he got something, like he stole something. All right, that one, there was no chance. The first one, yes, he made a one-handed grab, but still, like, teams are going to eat that matchup up all the time if I can line him up and not have help, right? Like, that's what I'm saying is, and I think the connective part to that is, and we got to start seeing this here, is, yes, I think they're going to have to help with safeties more and not blitz safeties as much. And that means them jokers in the front seven and them guys up front have got to start getting pressure and getting them on the ground, right? And that's got to start now. And I like That's the big piece for me. And in particular, Chris Jones is having I think a great season. Check that. A really good season. And I think right now some of it may be reputation, but I do think he is getting double teamed and more attention as any defensive tackle in football. And he still leads, I believe, coming into the game at least, led all defensive tackles and pressures. But you have to also, the great thing about Chris Jones forever is not only does Chris Jones get double teamed and get that level of attention and help others like George Karlaftis around him, he is also really productive. And he's not being really productive. Yes, he is attracting attention and he is getting pass rush. You can kiss my ass on the pass rush win rate thing. No, get home. Tackle him. All right. The pass rush win rate thing didn't mean anything against Buffalo because Josh continued to be able to move and make plays, either him picking up first downs or him getting into a space where they were close enough to go for first downs. He's got to start getting them on the ground. Now, I know Josh is unique, but still, what did you say? How many sacks does Chris Jones have? 3?
3.
That production has got to come up. And look, I'm watching Myles Garrett right now tonight have 3 sacks in one half. And he's that kind of guy. We got to start to see these guys get back. And yes, they're going to get a mini Hugh back. I don't know what 5-5 has brought, except for just looking like D Ford when he lines up, but actually not coming off and finishing like D Ford. Like I want to. That's what they're going to need. They're going to need those dudes up front to help that in the back.
And when they blitz, which they will, and they create pressure, they create havoc, you got to get home. That's another thing. Like their blitzes just weren't effective this week. So I'm totally with you, Ron. Front four's got to be better. A mini Hugh's going to help with that whenever he does get back. It's going to take some time, but he'll help with that. And when they blitz, we know Spags is going to. You got to find a way to get home. That's one of the other reasons why I put McDuffie back into the slot, because he's just better at it than Shamari Connor.
Yeah, and that's fair because Shakir, maybe McDuffie on him constantly may have changed some things. So that makes sense. All right. Serda, give me my music, certified or imposter. This is it this week, fellas. Week 18 against the Denver Broncos. Now that the Chiefs have lost a game and they're only one game above the Bills, Week 18 at Denver will be a game that the Chiefs absolutely need. Week 18 at Denver will be a game that the Chiefs will absolutely need. Go ahead, Serda.
I'm going to say it's certified because I don't buy that the Chiefs are going to win out the rest of the way. I think there's going to be a letdown game. Maybe it's Christmas Day. Maybe it's the Chargers. Maybe it's the Texans. I don't know. But I think there is going to be a letdown game in there. I think the Bills, who still have a couple of tough games, they've got to play the Lions on their schedule still, I think. And I think the Bills will probably lose another game. The Steelers have a very tough schedule, are certainly going to lose at least another game. And so, but I think it is going to stay tight the rest of the way to a point where Week 18 is absolutely going to matter for the Chiefs.
I'm going to say it is certified as well. I mentioned this earlier, Ron. Their margin for error is not what it was going into last week. I think they will lose one of these games. I don't think it's going to be this week. We'll get to our prediction here in a minute. But whether it's the Chargers, the Browns, Texans, I think there's a very decent chance they lose that game on Christmas Day. So if they do end up doing that, yeah, I think they're going to need that game in the final week of the regular season at Denver to be able to secure the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I think it's imposter. I think the Chiefs probably drop one more game somewhere, but I think the Steelers and Buffalo drop at least 2 more. And I think the Chiefs will beat the Steelers, but I think they drop at least, both of those teams drop at least 2 more. And I think this is an interesting stretch coming up for Buffalo that they have here. As I said, those 3 in a row. I don't know the order of them. I know it's the Niners, maybe the Niners, Rams, and Lions. If that's the case, I think that's a tough stretch there. And then they have some weird division games also. So I think it is imposter. I think the Bills and the Steelers will drop multiple games, and I see the Chiefs dropping 2. I feel like this is a 15-2 type of year. All right, let's go predictions. I'll kick it off as they play the Panthers. To me, I think I agree with you, and I think it is that people just need to get it out of their minds. The Chiefs are not the Lions, and I don't think they're really interested in being the Lions. I think the Chiefs are in a different place. Like, and not just talent wise, but I just don't even think Andy, Pat, the rest of them even operate with the thought of let's go get 50 on somebody. No. In my mind, I get the sense that this is like a 17-3 game at the half. And then in the second half, the Chiefs' mindset, unlike the Lions, which is like, let's just keep going. Let's keep scoring. Let's keep scoring. Like, I think the Chiefs' mindset is, hey, let's put together about 2 6 to 8 minute drives and just bleed the clock out and get up out of here. So this game to me feels like a 20, 27, 24, I'll say 27-10 game.
I'm very close to that. I've got 24-13 for all of the same reasons. I think they grind it out. I don't think it's a fun game to watch for non-Chiefs fans. I think it's just a go in, get the job done, get home. Hopefully everybody stays healthy type of game.
Yeah. I'm going to go 24-9. No touchdowns for the Panthers, but 3 field goals because, yeah, it's just going to be an ugly game. The Chiefs aren't going to go out there and drop 40 or anything like that. They just don't do that anymore. They're going to be able to run the ball effectively, and it's going to be a pretty boring game for the most part.
Yeah, they're not interested in it unless they have to. Like, they're not interested.
The Panthers' run defense is just absolute garbage.
Yeah, I bet their pass defense isn't great either. Shout out to Little Horn too out there. See what Jake's gets as up his sleeve. We are out.